It's all good, it's all good. Even when things don't work out like they should. It's all good, it's all good. Hi, welcome to another episode of our Shift Happens TV podcast, which will be available in video and audio. I'll try and get it up on iTunes at some point.
Who doesn't want to see this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And my name is Martin Jordan.
I'm Connie Jordan.
And affectionately known as a dynamic duo. And each of our podcasts, trio now, three amigos, three musketeers. We will be doing a podcast per week, hopefully. And today's podcast is on suicides.
And the other side.
And the other side.
In the work that we do mediumship events, which means with the audience.
Yeah.
And then Martin will do readings in the audience. And I would say very seldom is there not a suicide
Correct.
in the audience that someone has had to deal with.
Yeah, there's probably more suicides in the audience than you would think. You know, if it's a new audience, I'll pick up suicides around people. Now, sometimes the suicide will come through, and it's for that particular person, but there are suicides around people that don't come through at a particular time, so it's not all about suicides.
No.
But we do get them enough
But we...
to do a show on it.
Yes, we've gotten it enough, and then we've had it happen to somebody closer to us has had to deal with suicide. And so we realized that since there is more people dealing with it, that this is probably a pretty hot topic for people, because we have found that a lot of times what we have been indoctrinated to believe is that if you commit suicide, one, you're going straight to hell.
Yeah.
You do not pass go.
Mm-hmm.
No pearly gates for you.
Nope.
Or even Sylvia Browne, who was wrong, said that if you commit suicide, you have to come right back and incarnate. No.
No.
We found that not to be true, because you have communicated with those that have committed suicide.
And I've talked with other mediums who don't know my philosophy on suicide that tell me their stories, and I'm getting similar stories across the board.
Yeah, so we thought that this would be a subject that would interest a lot of people, because even if you haven't personally dealt with someone a loved one who's committed suicide, you know
someone
have.
who has.
Yes, that is dealing with it, and that has happened to me somewhat recently. That somebody that I know, that somebody suddenly, well, I guess it's always, well, they didn't see it coming, because some people, you know, they threaten or whatever.
Yes.
And this was something that was quite shocking.
Yes.
And what's been interesting is that while we didn't know this person while they were here, you've gotten to know her pretty well now.
Very well afterwards, because I started journaling avidly, and it has kind of slowed down a little bit. But
well, the interesting thing, though, is that what connected you to her was a piece of her clothing that was for sale.
Yes.
That couldn't be sold.
Couldn't be sold.
And yet you were drawn to it. It caught my eye. And so then the person just said, well, take it. We haven't been able to sell it. And that was...
It was gifted to me. And it's it
was kind of like a doorway, yeah.
Expensive waistcoat. And from that, I was able to channel a lot of information from her as to what it was like on the other side. And you could say that she wasn't really understanding of the other side. She didn't know.
No, other than what most people, mainstream people have that go to church here and there. Mm-hmm. There is that. Obviously, there wasn't a whole lot of fear, or else she wouldn't have done it. But,
but I get a sense that with her it was planned,
which is shocking.
And when she crossed over, she was able to come to me with advice, global information, which meant that she had fully made her transition. She was with her angels. Here's information you need to know. And then came in with information that I wanted to know.
Now, here's a question for you. When you say fully transitioned, what does that mean to you? Because I think that has a different definition for people.
For me, it has to do with a podcast we have coming up, to do with a communication I received called The Bridge. And it has to do with where you land, let's say, when you die. And the way it was given to me was this bridge. So fully transitioned means you've made that crossing from still being connected to your human body, still being connected to things that you did in this lifetime. Because we cross with the ego for the most part. And it's not a very strong connection, but people who cross confused, people who cross thinking that the other side is a certain way, that they're going to be judged, that they're going to be damned, they're going to be whatever, tend to be stuck a little bit, you know, and those are easy to cross over. Fully transitioned means they've given all that up and basically gone to the light. But just because they've done that doesn't mean they can't communicate with us still.
Exactly, yeah, because I think that's a clarity that I think people would have.
They just come through with higher level information, the bigger picture, than the small stuff that we worry about on this side.
Yeah, and, you know, for the suicides that I know that have come through when we've done public, you know, gallery readings, it's been really healing for the person, whether it be a parent or whatever, because it doesn't completely heal everything, but they've been able to give information and help them alleviate a lot of the guilt with what had happened.
I remember from my own teaching as a Catholic growing up that there was a place called Purgatory. Now, my understanding of Purgatory was if you didn't think you were good enough to get into heaven, but that you were bad enough to go to hell, Purgatory is where you went. Or you weren't given enough sacraments, or you weren't baptized, or you weren't given last rites, or whatever that is, then you got stuck. But it's I always ask the question, well, what happens with people in traumatic car crashes? What happens with people who think they're going to live another 10, 20 years, and all of a sudden their life is extinguished right away, and suicides? What happens with all of those?
Oh, they go straight to hell, according to, you know, a lot of the
According to a lot of the
teachings.
Doctrines, you go to hell if you take your own life. Yet, if you take someone else's life, you can be redeemed, you know, in certain doctrines by taking in their higher power, their leader, like the Christ energy or Jesus. They can be forgiven for that. Yet suicides aren't given that opportunity.
I know.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, what's really cool about the work that we do is that, you know, we go right straight to the horse's mouth.
We do. And what we also do is we throw this out there. We're not saying, this is the right way, believe us.
Yeah, we are.
We're throwing it out there as a take what you can out of it.
Which that's what all our podcasts are. It's like, what doesn't resonate, leave it.
Yeah, because we will have different theories in one podcast about different things. And we're going to get into some heavy-duty stuff where I know we're going to get some haters. Love you anyway. You are forgiven. Now, we will forgive you long before you write anything or say anything. So
We forgive you a long time.
Long time. So, but we will have several theories about certain things because we may not be tied to one particular theory.
No,
we may
this
still
has
be
just been
researching.
our experience thus far.
Yeah.
And so far, every suicide that has come through has nothing to say about flames, some guy with a pitchfork, some little horny, well, I don't know about a horny guy, but a horned guy.
Horned.
Horned. None of them have had that.
No.
Now, a lot of times, though, we're not going to say 100%, but I have found that a lot of the suicides that have come through, they were not in their right mind and they were on antidepressants.
Yes.
So that is what, I just thought it was rather interesting that a lot of them were on antidepressants.
They were over-medicated, badly medicated, or side effects from these drugs. For example, this will help you if you get suicidal ideation. If you're going to think of committing suicide, take this pill, it'll take it away. Oh, one of the side effects is?
Suicide ideation. I know, it hurts my
Damned
head.
if you do, damned if you don't. So we've got to stop medicating as much and start looking at what the core issues are with people.
And start the healing.
And start the healing
And,
process.
you know, it's not easy. It's
and it boils down to forgiveness every time.
I know
In my experience.
I know it's a dirty word for some people, but because forgiveness isn't about forgetting, but I guess that's true forgiveness when, I don't know, that's a whole other...
No, I actually believe you can actually forgive the person, but not forget the act. Because if you forget the act, you run the risk of repeating it. It's how you perceive the act
think
that tells
as
you whether
well.
you forgive it or not.
Yeah.
Like if you look at it and get angry, then you need to forgive. If you look at it and go, oh, what did that teach me?
Yeah.
Then you've done the forgiveness process. That's
Yeah.
what I believe is the case there. But that's another podcast.
Write that down. So the other thing that I thought was interesting with Chloe, who's been coming to you, is that you were kind of her therapist.
Yes.
That I thought was quite interesting because
Yeah.
that is not something we've had before.
That's something that I've ever experienced.
I mean, again, for lack of a better way of explaining it, like, because I actually blogged about it on Pure Heart Space, a vested interest, that it was interesting that because of the way of the suicide, because of where she was at
Yes.
just spiritually, in order, that, again, doesn't mean that she didn't transition, but I think to further her growth as a soul, on a
Yes.
soul level, she was...
Communicating with my higher self, I just was listening, eavesdropping.
But it was funny because you said it's almost like she had a paper. Yes, I saw him here. Sign
Yeah.
it. That kind of a thing.
Almost like a community service kind of thing where I had to sign off on it. But
Yeah, I thought that was really
Yeah.
kind of because we've never come across that before, and that's why
but
I
it makes
tend to blog.
sense that we would go to them for advice. Why can't they come to us for advice? Why isn't that a two-way street also? And it got me thinking. It's not like, oh, I really believe that now. It's, no, there's an interesting theory. Let's see how far that takes us.
Well, and this has been the
Yeah.
first time you've experienced that a spirit was coming to you, giving you information. And I think by her giving you certain information, it was kind of like you said, it's
Yeah.
kind of like almost like her
Yeah.
community service as well.
Absolutely.
Because
And it helped me out.
she was able to give you some information about here,
Yes.
about the situation and the people that she left behind.
Yes, which I wasn't able to relay to those people, but that
Didn't need
doesn't
to be.
matter.
No.
Don't need to be.
It
I
was-
don't judge it. And here's another thing about suicides. They're not judged the way we think they are. Well, not we. The way a lot of people who've been caught up in certain religious doctrine think that they're being judged. And they're not, because the soul's journey is a long one. And the earth is just a little blip on the screen.
Well, the way Andrew had explained it is that our lifetimes, we'll just take this one for instance, is like a grain of sand in the entire ocean, as far as the soul's journey is concerned.
And that's an interesting, to follow that concept, which is why I get into past life regression, and I'm a certified past life regressionist, that to see what these different lifetimes have to teach us. Because the soul knows all. I had a client today, and what I did was a soul integration.
Oh.
It came up, and it was like, oh, I need to start studying Stephen Farmer's work a little more.
Yeah, I was going to say, he specializes in that stuff.
Yes, he does. And
because when we have traumatic experiences, a part of us...
Yeah, and we'll have a link to Stephen's work in the blurbs on these videos, these podcasts, so don't worry there.
So I know the point of talking about suicide was, to do this podcast, was to, number one, know that your loved one is not burning in hell.
No.
They're not, even a little bit. We don't even believe in that.
Even the ones you hate.
I know. Nope. They're learning. They're growing. And we also, they agreed to that experience. And for you here that are left here behind, what helps us with our son leaving and going through the leukemia experience is knowing that we agreed to this journey. Yeah. So when you realize you can take responsibility, and there's something very freeing about that. I know we'll be talking about that more in depth in future episodes.
Yes.
But just look at it now that what can you learn from this? Is there anything you can heal from this? Is there others that you're supposed to help through this experience?
By having that experience yourself, there could be others that need your expertise on it.
Like we do with grieving parents,
Yeah.
with losing children, helping, teaching them the tools that we have to help us move through and heal and move forward and turn devastation into celebration.
And we have an introduction to who we are video, if you haven't seen that yet. We talk about our belief system and how we work. But this one on suicide was just to let you know that there is no judgment, and there will be a show on children and the teenage suicides and connected to the children and why they do what they do.
So, if you have any questions, please feel free, whether with the YouTube or whatever.
YouTube or on our Facebook,
But,
facebook.com/Shift Happens TV.
So just know that with your loved one on the other side, whether, if it was through suicide, that they are continuing to learn, to grow, and they are okay.
And please share this video with people that you think might help them from the information that we're giving. And I know these are short videos, but you can check out Connie's blog at pureheartspace.com or my blog at pureheartcenter.com/whatever that says down there. And we cover these topics in more detail.
All right. So,
remember,
we're running out of time.
We're running out of time now, so remember
to live your life with no regrets.
and die laughing.